All right, so today we're going to do my basic yin sequence, and this doesn't really have an emphasis of hips or spine, but it works both. Welcome, Kendra. So we're going to work the hips and the spine together, but depending on how you choose, you can emphasize one over the other. Okay, so I'll show you those options to a degree. All right. So we'll start with a butterfly pose. This is probably, honestly, of all the postures we're doing today, the most variable of the postures. So we join the feet together, and if you'd like a groin stretch, so this is your groin, these are your adductor muscles. If you'd like a groin stretch, you pull those heels in close, drop your knees down, and come forward, and you should feel right in here a stretch. However, you can do this, okay? And if you do this, I don't feel a stretch here anymore. Now I feel it back here more. And so feet out is spine and back, and maybe even your glutes. And then heels in close is more groin. And then, of course, there are positions between the two. So feel free to experiment. Find the position where you feel that your body is safe, is getting a stretch either here or here, and then finally you feel relatively comfortable, so you can stay there for 5 minutes. Now, this will almost always be more intense, and that's a good thing. So you can't really use intensity as the judgment of whether it's good or not, whether it's working or not, because the muscles in your hips and your thighs are generally going to have more tension, and they're bigger and stronger than the muscles in your back, generally speaking. So a back stretch here is generally always going to be much more subtle than a hip stretch, okay? Subtle is not bad. Subtle is great. Our backs need to be decompressed. These muscles, very often we can have tension back here that needs to be released. So again, you just have to kind of discern for yourself which one is the right one for you today. Today I'm going with the groin stretch because I've been hiking a lot and walking a lot, and so I feel a lot of tension there. Now, as usual, feel free to use support. So a block under your forehead, 2 blocks under your forearms. If you're doing the back stretch, you could put blocks under your knees. And always remember that you can have too much support. And you have too much support when you are no longer feeling the effect of the posture. So for me, if I put blocks underneath my knees and I no longer felt a groin stretch, then I might be very comfortable, but I'm not actually benefiting from the stretch that I'm trying to create. Same with a block under, say, my forehead if I'm going for the spine stretch. Okay, time's up. So we'll come on up, and then let's transition into our next posture, which targets the same two areas, and then we'll take a little break after that. So for this one, it's called a dragonfly. You may want to turn to face the long side of your mat. That's if you'd like to keep your heels on the mat. It's not really that important if you've got a well-padded surface that you're working on, like a carpet, a plush carpet, something like that. Okay, so the legs are straight and wide, and then the thing that we need to be mindful of here is if when I do this, I feel like I'm being pulled backward, if I feel like I have to do something like this, okay, so hold myself up. Then you want to sit on something and possibly bend your knees, and you could put 2 blocks or rolled up blankets underneath your knees to support them, right? And the sense you want to get is that if you fell asleep, you would fall forward. So in other words, if you relax completely, you fall forward. We don't want to feel like if I relaxed, I would fall back onto my back, okay? So again, I sit on stuff, I bend my knees, whatever I need to get that sense that I'm falling forward when I relax. Now, once again, you could use support, but we do want to feel a stretch in here and then back here, okay? So those are 2 areas that we're stretching. And again, the hips almost always feel more intense. And it's important for us to understand that, because otherwise you might think, well, I feel it here, but I don't feel the same here. So I'm going to grab my feet and I'm going to pull myself down until I feel it in my back. What's the problem with that? The problem is that you can injure your back that way without realizing you're doing that. Almost no one would intentionally injure themselves, right? I mean, maybe someone would. The vast majority of people would not ever do anything that they knew was injuring themselves. But yet people get injured doing yoga and exercise and things like that all the time. And sometimes it's just by mistake. They fall over, or they do something on accident. But oftentimes these injuries come from a lack of understanding, and they're called repetitive stress injuries, and they don't happen overnight. They're the result of what we might call bad habits. And so in yin yoga, pulling yourself down aggressively in a forward fold, unless you know how to do it properly, is a bad habit and can lead to an injury. So my recommendation, especially in these forward folds, is just relax. Make sure you feel the stretch, but the stretch does not need to be super intense. Use support only if you need it. Okay, so now we're just going to gradually come up, and you might feel like you want to hug your legs and do all kinds of things like that. But before we do that, I'll invite you to just relax on your back in stillness for about 30 seconds or a minute, and that's called a rebound. Good. Now let's bring our legs in, and the idea here, it's called the leg cradle. The idea is to just move a little bit to bring balance and relief to the body. So I know that I certainly, after doing those two postures, I feel the effects in my body lingering. So my body does not feel balanced. I feel certain joints and certain muscles are speaking to me. But as I move in this relatively simple and easy way, I feel those things, I'm getting relief from that. Maybe not complete and total relief, but I certainly am feeling better. Okay. And then before we continue, we'll hinge down. And the hinge is a stabilization move for the hips and the spine. Generally speaking, yin pulls your hips and your spine, the joints in your hips and your spine apart. It does that ultimately to strengthen them, but that's the mechanism that's happening. And so the hinge helps pull them back together using the muscles. So we begin with our hands under our hips. That creates a little platform for our sacrum or our tailbone. And then we take the legs and extend them straight up, unless there's pain in your back. And if there is, you just bend your knees, and at some point that pain should go away. But otherwise, you keep those legs nice and straight. And then what we like to do is lift the head and neck. Take a nice deep breath, and we exhale and gradually lower the legs. And then just before they touch the ground, we pause, take a nice deep breath in, and then exhale and relax again on your back. Okay, so we'll move our hips over to the right edge of the mat in preparation for banana pose. Let's begin by extending our arms overhead. I'm going to grab the right wrist with the left hand. And then we pull the wrist and the arm and the shoulders over to the left. Okay? And then take your left leg, move it to the left, and cross your right ankle over the left ankle. And what you're looking for here is to begin to feel a stretch in here. So this is your waist and your ribs, okay? So for me, I don't feel it yet. And so what I'll do is I'll scoot or wiggle my head and shoulders over further. And now I feel it. Okay, this is called banana or banana asana. And this week, as I taught this in classes around the Atlanta area, several people, for whatever reason, did this. Okay, so I just want to be clear that if you're at home and you're rolled on your side, that is not what I'm describing. So this right hip stays on the ground. Another way to describe it is if I were on the ceiling and looking down at you, you would be facing me face on. Your whole front of your body would be facing the ceiling. Okay, but you're creating a C shape, a crescent shape with your body. Now you'll notice that I've taken my left hand and I've brought it down. And the reason I've done that is I have some trouble with this left shoulder. And so like many people, if I have my arm in this position, I shouldn't say many people, but some people who students I've had in my class before, that's their complaint in this posture. If they have shoulder issues, is sometimes keeping the arm raised, they feel a pinching or discomfort in the shoulder. And so I tell them what I'm going to do myself, which is just find a different position for the arm where it doesn't hurt. But make sure you still feel the stretch here. So I'll actually go a little bit further with my upper body, but I don't have to be pulling here. I can just bring this hand down. Okay? Okay, so let's just gradually unwind to a neutral position. And I'll invite you to just feel your right side. You can compare it to your left side. So hopefully you can feel kind of the lingering effects of that stretch. So stretching is very good for our health, for our muscles, and it probably does things that we haven't yet discovered with science and medicine. So just because we don't yet understand something or we haven't identified the benefit of something, it doesn't mean it doesn't have those benefits. Like today, a lot of people are talking about, the benefits of using, say, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. And so some people have been using these all along, and they had those benefits, even though maybe people didn't know about it. And so it is with things like stretching and yoga. There are many benefits that we maybe yet have to discover in doing this. Okay, let's do the other side. So we'll move our hips over to the left edge of the mat, just so we have room in which to go. And then again, reaching up, we grab that left wrist this time and move ourselves over. And then we take that right leg, move it over, cross the left over the right. And once again, for me and my body type today, I'm not feeling the stretch yet. And so I will wiggle myself over until I feel it right in here. And today I'm getting a lot in the hip, which is kind of neat. I don't always get that. And that again is illustrative of the point that our bodies are just always changing. All right, so again, let's unwind and we will come back to a neutral position and just relax and feel the effects. Okay, let's bring those legs in. This is again the leg cradle. And we use this to just bring in a little bit of movement, a little bit of variety. As beneficial as the yin postures are, we do need a little bit of variety. We need a little bit of movement, not just stillness, if we're going to get the most out of our practice. And then from there, let's go ahead and hinge up. And once we're up, we'll transition to a tabletop and do a little bit of rotting bear. So this is both a counter stretch and an additional or a warm up for the spine. We'll be moving into back bending in this next portion of our class. So you might consider that. What does your back feel like as you move it into a back bend in this position? And we're about halfway through the class. So again, not a bad time to just maybe get a little bit deeper into those imbalances that might still be lingering. And then tucking your toes, we target the feet and the legs. Stretch things out. All right, and then we'll come into, or come onto our belly and prop ourselves up on the elbows. And this is called a sphinx or a seal. So this is sphinx on the elbows, which you are more than welcome to do. However, if you don't really feel anything in your back, we'd like a little bit of gentle compression in the back. So you can take your arms and straighten them out. Okay, and again, does not need to be super intense. Definitely should not feel like you're in danger, you're somehow injuring yourself doing this. All right, your legs can be together or apart. Your arms can be straight or bent. Your shoulders can be engaged or relaxed. Head held up, drop forward or drop back. Okay, so gradually coming down, we'll rest for a few moments. And then we continue on with another back bend, and then again we'll rest for longer after we do that back bend. And so let me grab my blocks. Now I know some of you at home don't have blocks. So if you don't, my recommendation is you just repeat what we just did. You can go a little further, or if you already feel that that was intense, you can try a little less. Again, you just want to feel a little bit of gentle compression in the back. It does not need to be super intense. So I do recommend that everyone get some yoga blocks. So if you don't have yoga blocks, maybe a big thick book or a stack of books might do the trick as well. But these are pretty cheap. Usually they're made out of foam. I like natural materials, so these are cork. So grab your block. So again, if you don't have a block, you're just repeating that last back bend. If you do have a block, grab your block and just make your way onto your back. Now once you're on your back, I'd like you to take your block and just look at it. There are 3 different heights that you can use. And what you'll do is you'll lift your hips up and then choose the height that seems appropriate for your hips. So for me, that's going to be this high one. And another option is to stack blocks. So if this feels like super unstable for you or something, you could take 2 blocks and stack them up if you've got 2. I do recommend getting 2, not just 1, but get 2 if you can. Okay, so this is a supported bridge. And in general, I'm trying to stretch the front of my body, and I don't want too much in my back. So that's the concern, is like too much back here. I don't actually feel anything back here right now. I don't even really feel much of anything at all. So what I'll do is I'll begin straightening out my legs, and now I begin to feel a stretch here and a little bit of compression in my back. For even more, I'll take my arms overhead, and now I feel more of a stretching along the front side of my body, which is, again, basically what I'm going for here. Okay, please, please, please take your time, nice and slow, getting out of whatever back bend you're in. And again, before we hug our legs or do anything like that, which could actually create a muscle spasm if we're too aggressive, let's just relax on our back. You don't have to straighten your legs. Just relax. Bringing your hips back down. You might feel very sensitive. I do. That is normal after doing a posture like that. We don't have to do anything about the sensitivity right away. So we just let it be there, relax, feel it. And you might notice that if you do that, sensitivity is already beginning to dissipate. It's already beginning to go away. It's already less intense. Okay, and then after 30 seconds or a minute, feeling that, we can gently begin bringing our legs in, and right? Feels good to release that, to do a little counter stretch. And again, the counter stretch is helping bring us back to balance. You might wonder, if we want to come back to balance, why do we ever go out of balance? And the answer is that's how we stay healthy. So if we just stayed in bed all day, we might be very comfortable. we wouldn't be healthy. We can't really be healthy by just being comfortable all the time, staying within the comfort zone. Someone who challenges their comfort, like an athlete or someone who climbs a mountain, generally these people we see as the healthiest people, right? Someone who's a couch potato, we use that term to describe someone who isn't healthy. So this is just true of life in general, that in order for us to really optimize our health and well-being, we need to step out of the comfort zone. However, when we're done, we return to balance. We return to that. So that's why we do the counter stretch. All right, let's finish with twisted roots. So we take the right knee over the left. You can lock ankles if you'd like, but it's not required. And then we just drop the knees over to the left side. And feel free to do whatever you like with your head, your neck, and your arms. You can experiment with different positions of each. If your knees are in the air and that does not feel safe, you could put a block underneath your knees if you prefer. Choose your leg and arm and head position based on what makes you feel safe, what gives you the best stretch, and also, finally, what is most comfortable for you. Okay, so we'll unwind, come back through center position, and then we'll make our way to the other side. So again, with my legs in, I just cross my left knee over my right, and then down to the right side this time. Okay, we unwind. Come back to neutral. Relax and feel. And then one last time, we'll bring those legs in, give them a nice squeeze, just using the movement to release tension in the body. Again, it may not completely go away. That's okay. And then grab a timer or your phone, set a timer for 6 minutes. Unwind comfortably onto your back. You can put something under your knees if you'd like. You can pad your neck or head if you like. Close your eyes and just allow your body to be still for a few minutes till the timer goes off.